a gander at what has happened and what's been left as the remains of this thing that happened today in this corner of Denver. So it's really something to see all of this and to see the Capitol like this, and it's really something to see like this. I mean, to quantify this and to quantify the amount of people that were here tonight and this afternoon, and to quantify the amount of damage and cleanup it's going to take to get the city back to what it used to look like before all of this. I'd imagine it's going to take a very, very long time, and it's going to take a very, very large amount of money to clean up all the graffiti that is all over downtown. So yeah, this is photographer Austin Knox with me, and there's that corner of 14th and Colfax where much of the, sorry about the vulgarities there. We're going to go ahead and toss it back to you, Kyle.
Don't get yourself hurt,
Yeah, no, absolutely remarkable that there were not significant injuries or, God forbid, the loss of a life there along that barricade, because as we approach the 8 o'clock hour tonight, that looked like where we might be headed in Denver. Instead, we have a situation that's very different than last night. Remember last night, the massed protest outside the Capitol, the fires being set, the car set aflame, windows smashed, tear gas and pepper rounds going into the crowd of people there. Very different tonight as they scattered south, pushed by a very aggressive Denver Police Department that said that they would not stand for things tonight. People were lighting fires in their wake. Noel Brennan has been on the scene looking at a number of those as the protesters moved south along Lincoln and Broadway and then spread to the east to some of those streets as well. Noel, from your perspective in that part of town there, south of the Capitol in Cap Hill, are you seeing the same frequency of dumpster fires that you were seeing an hour ago?
Well, I think we're coming upon the remnants of dumpster fires, Kyle. We just got here at Colfax and Pearl, and you can see there's a dumpster in the middle of Colfax that it appears that Denver Fire had already gotten to. I wonder if someone just went, or a group of people went down Colfax, or went down Pearl and just set dumpster after dumpster after dumpster on fire. Just about to pass me right now is a Denver Fire engine. They have been certainly have been busy tonight. 30 to 40 fires is what a firefighter told us earlier. We have seen small pockets of people, not huge groups of protesters like we saw earlier. We've seen several different agencies, Kyle, in the past 30 minutes or so. In addition to Denver Police, we saw Douglas County Sheriff's Office. We also saw Adams County Sheriff's Office. And we have seen them on Pearl driving through alleyways and clearing out small groups of people. We heard the sound of pepper balls being fired just a couple minutes ago by the Natural Grocers just a little bit down Pearl. So it appears that they were trying to clear a group of people that might have been in the alleyway near that grocery store. We're going to keep walking down Pearl because that's where we've seen the remnants of all of these fires that Denver Fire has been getting to. So yeah, that's the latest out here. Again, not a huge group of protesters, but you can see there are people around us, just small pockets of people. I think when police dispersed people a couple hours ago, this is what's left. Probably looks like this in many different areas downtown at the moment, but no big cohesive group at the moment.
All right, Noel Brennan, thank you very much for your work tonight alongside photojournalist Ann Herbst as they tracked a series of fires in streets and alleys throughout the city tonight. Just cannot tell you what an amazing change of events we've seen over the last 2 hours and how utterly unpredictable it was that when it came time to find out how would Denver police, with the support of other law enforcement and 100 National Guard troops, handle things at 8 o'clock, that what happened was a massive show of force and a scattering of protesters without, it would appear, significant injuries. Saw a couple of people being helped under their own power to get to ambulances after they were hit with projectiles, but have not heard reports of serious injuries, so we have to keep our fingers crossed for that. This was night 3 of 3 days of protests called for by a variety of groups enraged by the death of George Floyd, one of the latest in a long line of African Americans killed in this nation at the hands of police. Denver's mayor said that George Floyd's death in Minneapolis was a murder. And yesterday, for the first time, he admitted the deaths at the hands of Denver police in recent years, that some of them have also been murders. America's dealing with a lot, and so is Colorado. And tonight, it seems like we have found the calmest possible resolution to a very volatile situation earlier tonight. Our coverage continues in just a moment. For 3 nights now, the focus in the form of people have been police officers, and in the form of a place, it has been the Colorado State Capitol building. That is where the protests have been focused. That building has seen gunshots outside, don't know who those came from, rock through a window, vehicles smashed up outside, graffiti, so forth. Our Chris Vanderveen is outside a building that even with the crowds dispersed, they're still protecting.
Yeah, Kyle, it's something that really has struck me about the activity that you're seeing right now is that there's a lot of buildings in this area. You've been down here, we're right next to what was the Denver Post building. You've got the City and County building over that way. You got the Capitol behind me. There's a number of buildings that sustained a lot of damage, particularly last night. And there are not a lot of police officers and sheriff's deputies around those buildings. But the building that is being heavily defended tonight, and you're not going to be able to see it really well, is the Capitol. The Capitol really literally has a perimeter of police officers all the way around it. And when they went in, and you saw it live on air, when they went in very heavily at the beginning, and they threw the tear gas at the protesters, they went in immediately and secured that building. There's a lot of graffiti on the Capitol. There's a lot of other things, but what you're not seeing right now, a lot of, is people milling about the Capitol. In fact, about 10 minutes ago, we heard that a police officer in the area took a couple pepper ball shots at a guy who identified himself as a medium. Wasn't able to go up and verify that myself, but I heard that individual saying, "I'm the media, I'm the media." So you get the sense anybody that's moving fairly close to the Capitol also runs the risk of getting some interference from the Denver Police Department. So it's just an interesting note that we sort of notice right now. That building in particular was where the Denver Police Department, the Sheriff's Department, and you would imagine the Colorado State Patrol was really going to make its stand, and they've been able to surround that building throughout the night as the activity throughout the night went that way and stayed away from the heart of downtown. It went south and is largely dispersed. Kyle?
So talk about the building itself, Chris, the Capitol. Let's talk about the people who work there, the state legislators who just went back to work, because to me that's so indicative of the diversities of opinions within the crowd. There was the unifying form of opposing police brutality and the worth of the life of George Floyd, but you had state legislators who were inside the building watching the protest. On the first night, you had state legislators who were outside the building participating in the protest at the same time. And even on night one, the state troopers were so concerned about the security of that building and the people in it, they hustled legislators out secret tunnels beneath the building, out under the streets.
Yeah. They've really made the effort. That really has been the focal point of the preparation and a lot of the people that are over in that area. Just as a side point, I literally had a guy come by while we're doing this live shot, and he asked me, reporter, he goes, sorry, this number of police cars, he goes, "Where are the people at?" He asked the reporter, like, "Where are the people at?" They just want to, like, there's some people that just want to know where the crowds are, and they're not finding them. So they're still hanging out. As people have pointed out to me on social media, yeah, the curfew went into effect a few hours ago. Lots of people are supposed to be home. Hey, you know, there's something about, and I'll be honest with you, that guy right there, you're seeing a lot of that stuff right now. People that aren't down here for the protest, they're down here to just be that guy. So I'll just point that out. Yeah, I get mad when jerks like that come on television like that and do that kind of stuff. Sorry, a little frustrated. We've taken a lot of grief from people, but people like that, people that are down here right now, those people aren't here to protest. Those people are down here for themselves, and they're just milling around looking for something to do. So, sorry, getting a little bit upset. Yeah. You can tell that when people just, like, calm down, people. Like, if you got nothing to do, go home.
What do you got to do? You go.
Well, I'm not asking you to go home.
It just makes me think. How did he honor Mr. Floyd's life today? Oh, he shouted at a reporter and he clowned himself on TV. A lot of people did a lot of things today to make very strong statements about where America is in terms of police brutality and in terms of race relations. Yeah. All right. Chris Vanderveen is going to go talk to some folks right there. Wish him all the best. The city of Denver laid down a clear line this morning that they were not going to tolerate what we saw last night in terms of widespread vandalism that moved into the central business district, moved onto the 16th Street Mall. But the question was, how exactly were they going to enforce that red line and the 8 p.m. curfew? We've told you how that played out, and now we're able to get some insights from Denver Police Chief Paul Pazin, who is joining me via phone. Chief, thank you for your time. First off, what is the current state of the city? Do you believe that there are ongoing threats right now?
Kyle, there certainly are ongoing threats and disturbance that we are actively managing as we speak. The women and men of the Denver Police Department stand ready to address this, again, in cooperation with Denver Fire, Denver Sheriff, Denver Paramedic Division, and our mutual aid partners who have assisted us in keeping this city safe.
what is the focus area so that people living in that area, as this is moved into residential neighborhoods as it dispersed, in what area do people need to be particularly cautious?
So we are focusing on the agitators. We are focusing on individuals who continue to hijack the peaceful protests that took place each of these days and turned the message of how we as a community can come together and do better into one of destruction and harm to this beautiful city. We will focus on those individuals that are causing harm to our community, and we will hold them accountable.
I want to ask you why Denver police moved aggressively on people who are out in the streets earlier today than you did the previous 2 days. It seemed like we saw tear gas earlier, we saw pepper balls earlier, and my specific question is, why were those methods directed at people who are on the Capitol lawn when an hour before there were people there protesting with the sanction of the city in that same very space?
Kyle, our actions are a direct response to the type of activity that we, the police officers, the peacemakers, are being subject to. And if people are throwing rocks, bottles, fireworks, or other objects at our officers, we want to respond in a way that maintains the safest and actually least aggressive form in order to keep people safe. And that's exactly what took place tonight.
Chief Payson, can I ask you, were you surprised that your officers were able to roll that barricade in front of the Capitol at 8 p.m. tonight as quickly as you did? I'm not in your line of work, but I was shocked to see how quickly the people in the streets folded and your officers sent people scattering.
Not surprised one bit. I could not be more proud of the professionalism, the dedication, and the good judgment and discretion that the women and men of this police department have demonstrated each day during this very difficult and challenging time.
Chief Payson, 30 seconds remaining here. Do you expect trouble tomorrow?
We will be ready. We're hopeful that the peaceful people of Denver will not tolerate, will not stand for, and will not allow these agitators to hijack what the people of Denver believe in. We care about one another. We love this city, and we do more when we come together and unite than we do when we divide. And we want the people of Denver to help us keep this city safe, that we stand ready to engage in conversation, to learn what we can do together to help improve police and community relations, how we can do better on use of force issues. And we do that through dialogue. We don't do that through violence. And we're hopeful that the peaceful protesters will work with us to do better in the future.
Denver Police Chief Paul Payson, appreciate your time and appreciate your perspective. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kyle.
9 News at 10 continues in a moment. We have heard it claimed, both in Denver and in other cities around America, that the people who have been causing the trouble, the violent agitators, so to speak, are outsiders coming in from outside of our community. They made that claim in Minnesota, and then our sister station in Minneapolis debunked it and found jail records show that it's mostly Minnesotans. We heard Denver Police Chief Paul Pazin, who was just on with me, saying that he thought that the agitators were from outside the Denver metro area. Well, the only way we have to measure that is to look at who was arrested Thursday and Friday night. They're not releasing names yet from Friday night, but Thursday night, 12 of the 13 people were from Colorado. Jennifer Meckles has been looking into this for us, among other things. And Jenny, we're totally open to the potential that there are outside people coming in to make trouble. But at the end of the day, we just have to look at the actual facts in front of us, what we can verify, you know?
Right. Here's what we know so far, Kyle. Police say 9 men, 4 women arrested on Thursday. They range between 19 and 38 years old. Almost all of them have Colorado addresses. Most of these addresses are spread across Denver, Adams, Arapahoe, and Douglas counties. Online court records show 1 man has a North Carolina address. There were no records for another. Police say 1 person is still part of an ongoing burglary investigation, so they did not share a booking photo of that individual. Police also said that 19 people were arrested on Friday night. They said they will not release those names, though, until Monday, so we aren't able to look into any of their backgrounds. Kyle, another thing to think about is when people are arrested, what happens if they go to the jail, because we know during COVID-19 there's really been an effort to not try to keep those jails very crowded with a bunch of people around. The spokesperson for the Denver Sheriff's Office says they have reduced jail population by 45% since March because of course, COVID-19 concerns. So both the county jail and downtown detention center have confirmed cases among inmates and staff. We have asked if these policies they have in place right now will have anything to do with whoever they take in from protests. We're still waiting on some clarity for that. But that's what we know so far about the folks that have been arrested, certainly waiting on more. And I haven't heard, Kyle, I'm not sure if you've seen this, any arrest information from tonight.
We've watched just a couple, just a handful. Jenny, I know you were also tracking the National Guard. People heard they were coming to town and perhaps pictured troops marching en masse down the streets. That's not at all what happened.
No, National Guard told me that as far as their assignment was just protecting property and buildings and infrastructure, and that they would have nothing to do with arrests. That was not part of their job tonight. So I haven't really seen, honestly, images from the air or from the ground of them in and around downtown myself tonight. Perhaps our crews on the ground have, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, just protecting some structures, and then wasn't necessary when protesters were sent on the run very quickly. Jennifer Meckles, thank you very much for all of that tonight. 9 News at 10:30, and our continuing coverage of the situation in Denver tonight, largely resolved, is back in a moment. People are going home tonight. They're going home safe tonight. There are police officers going home safe. There are people who came out to protest who are going home safe. They are going home safe in the same way that George Floyd should have gone home safe. And that was the point that thousands of people have made over 3 days in the streets of Denver. That going home safe is not something that should depend on the color of your skin or the temperament of the law enforcement officer that you encounter. That George Floyd should have gone home safe. That Jesse Hernandez should have gone home safe. That Ahmaud Arbery should have gone home safe. And Marvin Booker should have gone home safe. It's a win that all those folks in the streets and all those police officers are going home safe tonight so that we can continue the conversation about the